I love to play golf. Y'all know that. That's an understatement. But I also like to fish. I don't get to fish a lot because I just don't. But the time that I fished the most was when we lived in Illinois and at our first church, and on the farm property the parsonage property that we lived at, there was a pond on the acreage, and I didn't have to have a fishing license there because it's a private pond. So we went out and we fished. There were smallmouth bass and there were bluegill. You wouldn't want to eat the fish out of that pond. So it's a catch and release kind of thing. But I that was where I fished the most, and I'm telling you, I found some real solace there. Like it was nice. Like when I was stressed and needed a moment away, I'd go out back to the pond and I'd go fishing. In order to go fishing, you need a rod and a reel, and you need fishing line, and you need a tackle box and bait or a lure, depending on where you're at, what you're fishing for. But when it comes to fishing in the first sense, fishing in the first century, easy for me to say, it was a little bit different than what it is today. So we think of fishing as kind of a solo project. You know, you go out by yourself to the lake and you fish, but in actuality, in the first century, fishing was more of a team sport. It kind of took everybody in order to make this thing happen. We're going to be in Matthew 4 this morning, verse 18 to 25. And Jesus has just begun his ministry here, and he's been baptized. He's gone through the temptation in the wilderness. He begins to preach. The message that he preaches is repent, for the kingdom of heaven has come near. This is a very important message. This is going to come into play later. Verse 18. As Jesus was walking beside the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon called Peter and his brother Andrew. They were casting a net into the lake, for they were fishermen. Come follow me, Jesus said, and I will send you out to fish for people. The New American Standard Version says, come follow me and I will make you fishers of men. That's what I've got that memorized in. But the problem is this idea of fishing for men, fishing for people. There's no real word there to kind of hone in on, like we've been kind of honing in on, right? So it's a concept is more along the lines of what it is. We need to keep going. At once they left their nets and followed him. Like they just dropped everything and started following him. Isn't that cool? Like man. Like that's some devotion right there, you know? Going from there, he saw two other brothers, James, son of Zebedee, and his brother John. They were in a boat with their father Zebedee preparing their nets. Jesus called them, and immediately they left the boat and their father and followed them. Wow. Jesus went throughout Galilee, teaching in their synagogues, proclaiming the good news of the kingdom, and healing every disease and sickness among the people. News about him spread all over Syria, and people brought to him all who were ill with various diseases, those suffering severe pain, the demon-possessed, those having seizures, and the paralyzed, and he healed them. Large crowds from Galilee, the Decapolis, Jerusalem, Judea, and the region across the Jordan followed him. Now what happens here is the concept of fishing for men, fishing for people, has been explained. That's verses 20 through 25. And here in this verse here, it says in verse 23, it says, Jesus went throughout Galilee, teaching in their synagogues, proclaiming the good news of the kingdom. That's where we want to look. That phrase there in the Greek literally says, Caruso ho euangelion ho basilia. Caruso we know, because we talked about that a week or two ago. Caruso is like the t-shirts at Martell's, the t-shirt brand. That is the word to preach. Okay? So Christ preaches, he carusoed, euangelion, which is the gospel, and basilia. Basilia, have you ever heard of a basilica, or as in like St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican? That word, basilica, is a Greek word that literally means St. Peter's kingdom. That's what that means. That's what the Vatican kind of thing stands for. St. Peter's kingdom. But it's the word euangelion here that I want to look at, because that is the word for the gospel. It means good news or gospel, to preach, preaching or preaching the gospel. Euangelion, do you recognize that word a little bit? It's not in English, it's kind of a Greek word, but you should recognize it, because that's where we get the word evangelism. So the word euangelion means gospel or good news, or to preach the gospel. A euangelistes is a preacher of the good news of the gospel. So when we are evangelizing, we are literally proclaiming the gospel. That is what an evangelist is. It is somebody who proclaims the gospel. You are literally casting a net out and fishing for people. That is what you're doing. That is why he uses the phrase, I will send you out to fish for people. So if we're going to go fishing for people, what is it that is involved in that? And just like a fisherman, we need the proper tools, right? So here's what we need. The first one that we need is experience. We need experience. That's your first blank. Here's the thing. The disciples spent 3.5 years with Jesus. 3.5 years. Did they have some assignments in there? Yeah. He sent them out among the 12. He sent them out among 70. They had some responsibilities. But their primary responsibility is to follow Jesus, to take his yoke upon them and learn. You know, there's something with that number 3 there. Because you know who else took 3 years? Paul. It says it straight in Galatians chapter 1, verse 11. He says, I want you to know, brothers and sisters, that the gospel I preached is not of human origin. I did not receive it from any man, nor was I taught it. Rather, I received it by revelation from Jesus Christ. For you have heard of my previous way of life in Jerusalem, how intensely I persecuted the church of God and tried to destroy it. I was advancing in Judaism beyond many of my own age among my people, and was extremely zealous for the traditions of my father. But when God, who set me apart from my mother's womb and called me by his grace, was pleased to reveal his Son in me so that I might preach him among the Gentiles. My immediate response was not to consult any human being. I did not go up to Jerusalem to see those who were apostles before I was, but I went into Arabia. Later, I went to Damascus. Verse 18. Then, after 3 years, I went up to Jerusalem to get acquainted with Cephas. If the apostles spent 3 years with Jesus to gain experience, to gain training, why would we be any different? The problem of what happens is that when we make a convert, we put them to work. And that is a travesty of travesties. Because the first thing that they need is to be taught. The first thing they need is to be taught. That is why we're developing the binder. That is why we're developing this mentorship program. Because where we have gone wrong is that we have just made converts and put people to work. We have not taken the time to teach them. We can't do that. That's how you run a convert off. We have to take the time to gain some experience. I spent 3 years learning the ropes, a little over 3 years, between 2 to 3 different preachers. You got to learn the ropes, guys. We've got to learn. If you've never been mentored, if you've never taken the time to learn, let me or one of the leadership guys know. Please. Let's solve that problem. Because that's the first problem is we need to take the time to gain some experience. The next blank, the second thing, is that in order to go fishing, you have to have equipment care, right? You have to take care of your equipment. If your rod and your reel or your net is broken and busted and fraying at the edges, you ain't going to catch very many fish, right? So in order to do this, we have to have equipment care. For the gospel, we need to know it. We need to know the gospel. We need to know the doctrine. It is more than just a Jesus-only faith. Well, Jesus is enough. Well, yes, Jesus is enough. But I'm telling you, you can't defend the faith if you don't know it. You can't. You have to know the faith. We're sold this idea that all I need is Jesus, and that's not wrong, but that's not complete either. We cannot defend the faith if we don't know it. I've said it 2 times before, I just said it a third. We cannot defend the faith if we don't know it. I said it a 4th time. Have we got the point? You need to know it. If you are not reading and digging it, like reading's great. But if you are not digging into this word and diving deeper, you're not going to be able to defend it. Why is it that we need to be able to defend it? Because the fact of the matter is that we have to be able to, it's not about having the answers. It really is not. This is about being able to lead someone in their faith. Because I'm telling you, people ask hard questions. That's why I'm the question guy. Because I love a hard question. Like, dude, try to stump me. Like, that's my challenge to you. Try to stump me with something. A couple of people have done it. Like, stump the preacher. Like, I welcome a tough question. Because that sends me digging into the scriptures. It grows my faith. And I can help you grow in yours. I'm not afraid to say the word, I don't know. I don't know. But here's what I do know. I know the God that does. I know the God that has the answers. And I will consult him, and we're going to dig, and we're going to find the answer. Some questions, it is an I don't know, because sometimes there are no answers. They're tough. They're tough questions. It is why Larry and I came up with the Core 6, because the Core 6 is more than just a gospel message. It is the very foundation of the faith. It shows that it was faith from the beginning of creation. It shows that faith was there before the law. It shows that faith and pride are at each other's throats. It shows that Jesus is the object of that. The statement that Jesus is enough is not wrong. Because let me tell you what, Jesus is enough. But Jesus also preaches a complete message too. It is about learning that this faith encompasses everything that we are, that we cannot please God if it's not for faith, and that we have this eternity to look forward to that is beyond our wildest dreams. You can't imagine, like trust me, I've got a wild imagination. I have tried to picture what heaven is going to be like, and I know that any picture I come up with is paling in comparison to the reality of what awaits us someday. That's why we live here and now in the eternity, because the excitement of what awaits us, man, we want to bring people with us. That's why we are fishers of men, because we want to bring as many as we can. And to do that, we have to take care of our equipment. We need to know our equipment. Our third thing is that in order to go fishing, you need to have vessel care. You need to take care of the vessel that God has equipped you with. If you are a fisherman, you have a boat. You got to take care of your boat. Because if your boat's got a hole in it, you're sinking, baby. It's like somebody's going to be rescuing you out of the water. For preaching the gospel, let me say this. You are no good to spreading the gospel if you don't take care of you. You're the only vessel that you've got. This ain't no Star Wars thing where you can transfer your essence to a different shell. Like this ain't no Star Wars thing, guys. Like this is the one and only vessel you've got. Eat right, rest, take care of yourself, exercise. I know I'm preaching to the choir. Because it's like the pot calling the kettle black, man. I'm telling you right now, I am in a season where food has got me. I'm struggling. Oh, I'm struggling hard. When I was writing this sermon, this was the hardest section for me to write. Because I'm like, how am I going to get up there and say that? And I'm sitting here struggling with trying to get my blood sugar under control, and it's all out of whack. Man, take it from me, take care of yourself. Eat right, rest, exercise, not just physically, but spiritually. The whole point of taking a Sabbath rest, for God saying rest on the seventh day, is to rest. Yeah, we are designed to take a Sabbath. We are designed to take a rest. We need to eat right. This is our spiritual food. If you only come here and eat once a week, and this is the only time you eat, a Sunday morning, you are going to be starving by the time you come back here next Sunday. You're going to be starving. This book is filled with the words that lead to life. They lead to Jesus. every last page, every last word. So when I say that Jesus is enough, but it's not complete, that's what I'm getting at, is that Jesus is on every single page. He's there, waiting for you. Meet him. Eat right, rest, and exercise your faith. Take your faith for a walk every now and then, just like your dog when you get home. On a leash preferably, yeah. Like, oh gosh, yeah. Like take like when the dog wants to go out and they go all whopper jawed. Like your faith is the same way. Your faith wants to go for a walk. Your faith wants to go for a walk. Take it for a walk. It'll do it some good. The next thing, what are we on? Number 4? Is this number 4? I didn't number them. Like, really, Ryan? The next thing you need to know to go fishing is local knowledge. That is why when people go fishing, they have things called guides, fishing guides. I have a friend that does this. He's a fishing guide for a lake out by where he lives. He knows every nook and cranny that's out there. He knows what the fish habits are. He knows what time of day they're there. He knows their habits. He knows everything there is to know about where those fish are at any particular point and what they're doing and their tendencies in different weather. For the gospel, we need to know the location of where we are at. We need to know the culture. We need to know the people. We need to know the tendencies. We need to know how to approach them. We need to know personalities. I'm telling you, preaching the gospel here in our little town is much different than going down to the city and preaching the gospel down there. It is a different culture, man. It is a different culture. It is a different location. The people are different. The tendencies are different. How to approach them are different. That's why when we go to feed the homeless next Sunday, I encourage you to stick around, because that's not just going up to the gazebo. This is a whole different animal. Because it is. It will stretch you outside of your box and teach you a lot of these lessons on how to have the local knowledge and approach people. It really will. It really will. Look at it like this. I'm going to go to Acts 17. It is Acts 17 is where you have these examples of where Paul goes to the synagogues, and then he goes to the Areopagus. Two completely different places, two completely different cultures, with different tendencies and different approaches. Paul's approach is completely different when he goes to the Areopagus. Okay. When Paul and his companions, 17 verse 1, when Paul and his companions had passed through Amphipolis and Apollonia, some of these words are really, they came to Thessalonica, and where there was a Jewish synagogue. As was his custom, Paul went into the synagogue, and on 3 Sabbath days he reasoned with them from the scriptures, and explaining and proving that the Messiah had to suffer and rise from the dead. That is his approach in the synagogue with the Jews. Now watch this. Verse 18. A group of Epicurean and Stoic philosophers began to debate with him. Some of them asked, "What is this babbler trying to say?" Others remarked, "He seems to be advocating foreign gods." They said this because Paul was preaching the good news about Jesus and the resurrection. They took him and brought him to a meeting of the Areopagus, where they said to him, "May we know this new teaching that you are presenting? You are bringing some strange ideas to our ears, and we would like to know what they mean." All the Athenians and the foreigners who lived there spent their time doing nothing but talking about and listening to the latest ideas. Verse 22, watch this. Paul then stood up in a meeting of the Areopagus and said, "People of Athens, I see that in every way you are very religious. For as I walked around and looked carefully at your objects of worship, I even found an altar with this inscription, 'To an unknown God.' So you are ignorant of the very thing you worship, and this is what I am going to proclaim to you." Notice the difference? With the Jews, he reasoned from the scriptures. With the Areopagus, he did not. He knew their culture, he knew their tendencies, and he went to them and reached them right where they were. That is what it means to have local knowledge when you are evangelizing and talking with people. You have to know who it is that you are speaking to. This is why you have to develop a rapport with somebody first. You like, can you go and preach cold turkey? Yeah, you can. But if you know them, man, I'm telling you, that makes all the difference in the world. Oh, yeah, number five. Number 5 was really hard too. Oh gosh. Number 5, the 5th thing that we need is time. If you're going to go fishing, you need the time. At the beginning of the sermon, I'm sitting here saying, like, I love to fish, but I haven't fished in a long time. Like, I haven't even been out and played golf this year. Like seriously, I have not hit the golf course yet. Usually by now, I've been out at least 10 times. At least. Time has been an issue. If we're going to preach the gospel, we have to put forth the time and the dedication. This next sentence really hit hard. If Jesus and the mission of spreading the gospel is not your first priority, you're doing it wrong. That was another tough one to write. That was tough. Because if your primary mission in life is not spreading the gospel and the good news of what Christ has done for you, you're pursuing the wrong things. Your priorities are in the wrong place. Lord knows I have been there and I still struggle with this. Man, I've been on this walk 20 plus years. It is still a problem. Why? Because we live in a fallen world. This is making time for Jesus. It's not just a task that we need to check off of a list. It is the very reason for the life that we have and for the air that we breathe. God is the priority. He's not first on the list. I can't remember who told me this. I'd love to give you credit, but I forgot. But somebody was like, God is not the first priority. He is the page on which the priorities are written. Amen. I love that. God isn't just the first priority. He is what all the other priorities are written on. You don't have priorities if it's not for God. His mission supersedes all other missions. We have to make time for everything else. I'm full of all kinds of practical examples this morning. I had a video. I've got a practical example. Like, what's up with Ryan this morning? Okay, I've got sugar. Family. Yeah, that looks like it fits. Work. Yeah, it looks like that one fits too. Kids. Yeah, that kind of fits in there too. Marriage. Ruh-roh. That one's kind of sticking out the top a little bit. God. Oh boy. Seeing this, the sugar. That's all the small stuff in life. See, what we do is we put all the small stuff in first, and then we try to work in our family, our career. We try to work in our kids and our marriage, and if there's room, we have God to put in there. But the problem is that it doesn't fit. So God usually goes to the wayside. However, if we put God in first, then our marriage, put your kids in, put your career in there, and your family. Everything else just seems to fit. We have to have things in the right order, folks. We have to have things in the right order. If we do not put them in the right order, you are going to find that the things that really matter are never going to fit into your life. Sherry and I just became empty nesters. You want a reality check on all the missed opportunities in your life? You just wait until you're an empty nester, because that moment's going to hit you. And you're going to go, oh, I hope I did a good job. Because those opportunities are gone. It's a different walk now. Take it from somebody who's looking back on those moments and going, man, I hope I did this right. Man, I hope I did it right. Put God in your glass first. Put your effort into your marriage next. Then put your kids in there. And then put your work in there. And when I say family, I mean extended family. Family. And then work that small stuff in there. It will fit. But those have got to be the priorities, because time is the one luxury that we never, ever get back. Once it's gone, it's gone. Number 6. I told you that one hit me hard. It's tough. Number 6 is plan. When you catch the fish, you gotta have something to do with them. Because if you just take the fish and you just stick them in the boat, they're going to be dead by the time you get back to shore. When I was a kid, we went fishing for catfish, and we had a little pole that we would stick down in the ground, and it had a rope attached to it, and you would hook the fish to the rope, and you'd be able to keep them in the water. So that way they'd stay alive until you got them back to home, to where whatever you were going to do with them. We cleaned them and fried them is what we did with them. There's nothing better than a good fresh fish. With the gospel, once we catch the fish, we've got to have a plan. We've got to have a plan. We can't just haul our catch of Christians to the shore an hour later. If we don't catch them and have a plan when we catch them, we're going to lose them. We have to have a plan. We have to have a plan. I am always working closely with at least 3 people. It's about all the time that you can put into somebody is working with 3, because if you get more than that, you're going to find yourself stretched a little bit too thin. So I've got 3 people that I'm usually breathing into. It's one, for me at least, it is one of a few different categories. The first category is a new believer. I will take new believers under my wing and teach them. The second category is a future leader, somebody that I see potential in. I will take you along beside me because I because I had people take the time to breathe into me. And for somebody to take the time out to help you grow, man, that means something. That's something I'm going to pass on. I'm going to pass that on because somebody was kind enough to give it to me. I'm going to pass that on to a future leader. Somebody that is wanting, either wants it or doesn't know that they want it. New believers, folks, need care. They need our help. They need our encouragement. They need to grow. They need our friendship. They need our love. We can't afford as a body not to. We can't. We can't. The last thing is the sorting. When you catch a fish that's too small, you need to grow up a little bit. Or you catch a fish that's not a good fish. The bad fish get thrown back. At the end of time, when we get there, we've talked about this a little in this series. When we get there, God is going to sort the fish out. Right at the moment, our job is not to sort them out. Not right now. Our job is not to sort them out. Our job is to catch them right now. That will shift in future times because we talked about this and how we will have positions of authority in the new kingdom and how we will judge the world and we're going to judge the angels. But that is not yet. We're not there yet. Right now, we are bringing the catch in. It is not time to sort it yet. However, that time is coming, and rest assured that that day is going to come. And you are going to want to be on the right side of this. You are going to want your family members to be on the right side of this. You are going to want your folks that you know, your friends, your close, your people. You're going to want them to be there. You are not going to want them to be those who reject him and then be thrown in the fire. And the last thing you want is for them to go, how could you not have told me? Why didn't you say something? Why didn't you say something? Unfortunately, the sad part is that the church, the Big C church, has made evangelism out to be the job of the preacher, and most congregants have lost the idea that we are all evangelists. There are churches that call the preacher the title evangelist. I could not disagree with that more. Because while that is not wrong, that's also not complete. You'll notice I say this a lot. It's not wrong because that preacher is an evangelist. That's what he does, is he is an evangelist. However, it gives off the idea that he's the only one. No. We are all evangelists. We have all heard Jesus say the words, "Come, follow me, and I will send you out to fish for people." We've all heard it. That is our job. We have the mission. We have the tools to do it. And here it is. We have the authority. We've been given. That's the whole point of this whole sermon series right now, is that we have the authority in Jesus to accomplish the mission. We've got the authority to do it. It's a mission impossible thing. Your mission, should you choose to accept it. If you're a believer, it is not a choosing. It is a commission. It is a command. This is our job. And souls are on the line. It's time to step up, and it is time to do the work. As we talked about last week, it is time to step up and do the work of an evangelist. Your mission, this is the big idea, your mission is to go and fish for people. It is as simple as that. And every week I get up here and I talk about your next steps. And unfortunately, I get into a routine because it's easier for me to remember all of the things included in that because I'm getting older and my memory is getting worse, and I forget stuff. So I get into a routine to say these things so that I don't forget something. However, let me take a moment to tell you why I do this. Because no matter what you're doing, no matter where you're at, you have a next step. God is calling you to a deeper water. He's calling you to a tougher commitment. If you're a leader already, whether you're a leader here at the church, whether you're a leader in your job at work, if you are a husband, you're leading your family. If you are a wife, you are leading your family as well under the umbrella of your husband. Like you are a kid, you're not exempt from this either, because if you're a believer, there's a school full of kids that you go to school with that don't know Jesus. We are leaders in one capacity or next, and God is calling us to a deeper commitment. That's the other thing that hit me hard, is that I lack. I fall short all the time. And the whole point of the next step is that there's not anything that we're not called to go deeper on. Whether you are literally at that point, do you need to make a decision? Because by not making a decision for Christ, I hate to tell you, but you're making a decision. It's just against him. We've got 2 young ladies who are going to be baptized today. That's awesome. Ooh, that's exciting. That gives my blood pumping. Man, that is exciting. If you need to join them, hey, the water's warm. It's ready. I'll get wet. I don't have any backup clothes, but I don't care. We'll get wet. I will walk out of here soaking wet. It is okay. Don't wait. Take the next step. Let God push you into deeper waters. Maybe you need to rededicate or find a small group. Maybe you need to become a member. Maybe you need to find some opportunities to get into this word. Maybe you don't know the gospel as well as you should have by now. I remember being in my office in 2011. I had just gotten my first full-time preaching gig. And I remember sitting in my office and I remember going, oh my gosh, what have I gotten myself into? What have I gotten myself into? It was then that I realized that, I could articulate the gospel to you, like Jesus came, died for our sins, and that's good. But man, there's a whole lot more to know there that I don't know. That's the thing, like that's the whole point of reading and studying. Maybe you're at that point. We've got plenty of opportunities for study. Dig in, whether it's at a Bible study, one-on-one, you need somebody to kind of walk you through this kind of stuff in a mentor kind of way. One way or another, we'll find it. Maybe you need to, it's time to get up and take that faith for a walk. We've got plenty of opportunities for that as well. No matter what your next step is, no matter what God is pushing you into the deeper water to do, have the courage to take one step. Because that's all it takes.